Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live, where you will find us airing our views here on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate, leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on smart TVs 2016 forward. Now, joining me on Candid Frank Live, as usual, is Aaron William Freeland. Hi, Aaron. I got a really bad cold, a real terrible sore throat, and my voice is going to be even a little deeper than normal, and it probably will crack once in a while. So I apologize in advance.
No worries, Frank. I'm in pretty much the same situation after spending last weekend in the rain and cold. So you may see me go on mute every once in a while. That's only because I'm trying to stifle a cough.
Absolutely. Okay, let's start with the CFL, and we have some Hall of Fame entries. And in fact, we had ones that went in, and there's a new set going in later in September.
Yeah. So Ricky Ray is going to be entering the Hall of Fame. Not to mention that Chip Cox is also going to be going in. Both of them were named for induction in their first years of eligibility. Also selected as players were kickers Paul McCallum, fullback Tim Tyndale, and Dick Thornton. Dave Ritchie, Roy Shivers, and Calgary Colts founder Keith Evans were named as builders, and all are going to be inducted in September 16th at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton.
Fantastic. And the Elks, the Stamps injury reports?
There's the usual suspects on this thing. Again, the injury list doesn't seem to be getting any shorter. But we're looking at Sherman Beatty for the Elks, Taylor Cornelius, Colin Kelly, who did not practice with an ankle injury. Same goes for Enoch McConzo. Then you have players on the Calgary Stampeders like Cody Grace, who was limited in his practice, and Trey Robertson, who did not practice as well.
How about the Argos and Lions?
Things are looking a little bit better on that front. As it currently stands, the Argonauts had 5 players that did not practice and 2 that were limited. Matt Boateng, Isaiah Cage, Declan Cross, Robertson Daniel, and Trevor Hoyt did not practice. Priester and Shane Ray were both limited. For the BC Lions, Nathan Cherry did not practice, and Jalen Edwards Cooper was limited.
And they have a few players that it's not due to injury.
No, that's correct.
Right. So, okay, Argos released American wide receiver Ernest Edwards.
Yeah, so Edwards joined the team earlier this actual year. He was signed with the Argonauts in January of 2022 and attended training camp. He played 7 games for the Elks in 2021. Spent 4 seasons with the U of Maine Black Bears, but unfortunately couldn't quite catch hold here as a wide receiver.
Okay, let's move over to hockey. Austin Matthews makes a little magic in the 67th year. He wins an award. 67 is an important number with the Leafs, so that's kind of ironic, right?
Well, I mean, 67 is the last year they won a cup, but this is also the first time that somebody's actually won something for the Leafs. So, at least, when it comes to the heart. But yeah, it was actually a fun-filled evening. The parting shot from Keenan Thompson was actually hilarious.
I don't know if you heard. What was the shot? I heard he laid a shot out against the Leafs.
Well, yeah, he says, congratulations to Austin Matthews on winning. It's nice to see the Leafs finally win something in June.
Ouch. He's not nice. I don't know if he's not on Saturday Night Live anywhere, so I can't withhold watching Saturday Night Live. I have to figure out something. He had a TV show. It sucked. How's that? That's me getting it. Okay. The NHL, the Edmonton Oilers, their coach that they had lying around, they moved him up to head coach. It's worked out really well. Jay Woodcroft, 3 years, baby.
Yeah, I mean, this is really good news because they did actually perform pretty well under Woodcroft once he was brought in. So they've signed him through the 2024-2025 season. He took over for Dave Tippett. They went 26-9-3 after Woodcroft took over. I'm kind of wondering if that has more to do with the fact that it's a new coach or if he really is that much better. Obviously, they've now given him 3 years or less to figure that out and hopefully get a few more playoff round wins in.
Well, we talk about new voices, right? And even coaches who quit, like in Winnipeg, mentioned, there needs to be a new voice. At some point, the voice gets stale, and there aren't many coaches that last decades, right? If they last 5, 8 years, that's a long tenure.
It is, yeah. And the last coach that the Leafs signed to a long deal like that, we're still paying. So,
Well, okay, yeah, I hear that. All right, so in hockey, it seems that you know, I don't know what it is about hockey, and Hockey Canada right now has been told by the federal government, you ain't getting no money, honey. And it's because you got to keep it real, and you're not.
yeah, it turns out after the allegations surrounding the 2018 junior team came to light, documents that had been released to the federal government actually revealed that Hockey Canada has been dealing with these complaints at the rate of about one or two per year for the past 5 or 6 years. I'm generally not someone who rushes to conclusions, Frank. I like to try to get all of the information I can, but 5 to 12 sexual assault complaints over the course of a 5 or 6 year span seems a little excessive. I know that Tom Rennie recently resigned as president of Hockey Canada. Again, I mentioned that the timing seemed a little bit coincidental, but he did mention that the league was trying to move forward and the organization was trying to move forward and be more responsible. I think this is the government trying to hold them to account on that.
What I find most what's disturbing is that the issues are not addressed. In other words, they're not the existence of a complaint needs to be addressed. It needs to be heard. And at the same time, there can be no assumption of guilt, but there can be no blocking of a person's complaint. At the end of the day, the truth is what matters. And whatever allows us to, get to the truth that's impartial, Aaron, because, you know, at the end of the day, part of the reason why this stuff happens is fear, right? Fear for some who just the accusation could ruin their lives. Well, they've got to be able to handle it. They've got to come up with a plan. They can handle it in private if they're honest and listen to a person. If a woman comes with a complaint, you listen to her complaint. You can privately look into it, right, Aaron? It doesn't have to splash onto the front page. And then when you find out something is wrong or not, then you go according to what the law suggests that you do.
No, and a lot of this is unfortunately taking place in the court of public opinion. Now, there are, of course, detractors that are going to say, "Oh, well, she was probably lying because she settled out of court." But you have to realize that after a certain point, if you've been involved in something like this for long enough, you sort of learn to recognize if you're her lawyers or in her legal team, whether or not you actually have any chance of success.
Can I ask you a
And
question, Aaron?
sure.
Whose feelings should we be concerned with? The victim or people who are of an opinion watching what's happening? Who should
Speaking
we care about?
personally, I
No, no,
should I
I
would
mean
care
that
more about
generally speaking. I mean generally speaking, right?
generally
I'm not
speaking, I
because
would care more about the victim's feelings.
right? Isn't that who
Yeah,
matters? All
it
right.
should.
So if the victim's satisfied with what they've been given, should we not respect her satisfaction?
Yes,
Should
but
we not
at this
expect accept it?
yes, but
Okay,
at
what's
the
the but?
same at the same time, while the case may have been settled to the victim's satisfaction, there may be other factors that may increase it because Hockey Canada didn't abide by their own rules when they settled it, and not enough action or corrective action may not have been taken.
That's a different
That's
story.
well, and
Now,
that's entirely out of our hands, right?
okay, let's ensure that we're talking about the same thing. I don't want to get down into the weeds, so what I'm trying to say here is, and I'll make it clear. The victim is the one that needs to be satisfied that they have been vindicated and also their pain, heard, and they feel satisfied that somebody understands what happened to them, and to their satisfaction, they're content, because nobody's happy after something like that happens. If she feels, if it's a she or he or whatever, if they feel like they can move on, they should be allowed to move on, and other people shouldn't be telling them they can't move on, that they got to pursue something further. They've got to become a poster child for this kind of behavior. There is no there, I just don't believe that victims should be used or the property of others. All right.
Mhm.
That's what I believe. So if this lady's satisfied, this gal's satisfied, and to your point, that's one side of the equation. Now, the other side of the equation, I agree with you 100%. If Hockey Canada has a process that isn't conducive to mutual respect and the protection of individuals and ensuring that bad behavior is admonished, then there's a problem. I agree with you, but I hope you understand how I split the situation. That girl has
Yes.
nothing to do with the way Hockey Canada handles it. Hockey Canada has to handle it right, because it's their responsibility to ensure the young men that are under their umbrella behave in a manner that's respectful of everyone. That's it. That's all. Nothing else
No, I can certainly appreciate that.
for me, anyway. Yeah, no, I just hate how it becomes they get hijacked. Sometimes victims get hijacked. Um, Another thing why this is important to me and why it's getting a little interesting now is Roger Goodell was in front of a congressional committee to do with workplace safety, treatment, all that stuff. The Washington Commanders, owned by Daniel Snyder, have a history of abusing women who are employees of the Washington football team as they were known, and as you know, they had another name before that. They are now known as the Washington Commanders in the NFL. Um, the commissioner, Roger Goodell, testified. So, and in his testifying, there's no denying that there's issues. He had to admit it. And now he gets put in a position where it's what you just said about Hockey Canada. What's your process? How do you deal with this situation? How do you make sure your employees are safe?
And this is where we get into a whole bunch of legal wrangling, because in actual point, it seems that Snyder actually tried to manipulate the steering of the NFL's disciplinary committee by
Shadow
launching his own independent shadow
The shadow
investigation of
investigation. Yeah, heard
yeah.
about that
So
too.
this is and again, this is
To
the
the
two
end
layers.
of finding stuff on people that were
Mhm.
complaining about him so that he could complain about them and basically undercut their complaint.
And it's a really sneaky, underhanded way to go about things. But
Welcome
and
to
again,
big business.
this speaks to the division of satisfaction, I guess is the best way to put it. If the victims have been satisfied, that's one thing. They should be left alone and left out of it once that has been satisfied. From there, if the NFL has their own disciplinary arrangements that they need to take care of, that's a separate bushel that has to be
Absolutely.
worried about.
Good. We're on the same page, because
Yes.
at the end of the day, each individual case should be judged, investigated independently of any other case. There should there, each victim each victim doesn't get the satisfaction of another victim. They get their own. Each accused gets their just judgment, not relative to how anybody else was judged. So that's how I see it, and I'm tired of this association stuff. So good for them, good for this committee for getting in. And Roger Goodell's going to have to do something. These are rich guys. This is unfortunately we're talking the stereotype, right? Isn't it terrible? Old rich guys. It's the stereotype. It's oh god. And then you've got a player who, well, Deshaun Watson. He settled with what, 20 out of 24 complaints, something like that. You,
Yeah,
you know,
there
you
have.
got the story.
Yep, he's currently settled with all but 4 civil sexual misconduct suits. His lawyer says um, that is basically Ted Busby, his attorney, said today, I'm announcing that all cases against Deshaun, with the exception of 4, have settled. We're working through the paperwork related to those settlements. Once we've done so, these particular cases will be dismissed. The terms and amounts of the settlements are confidential. We won't comment further on the settlement or those cases. So again, this is a particular case where 20 out of the 24 have received resolution to their
Right.
evidence satisfaction.
Right.
Anything else, again, that proceeds from here will have to do with the Cleveland Browns team policy and internal discipline, as well as good behavior clauses in the NFL contracts and whatever else that you may have.
Why it's important that this be publicly mentioned that he was sued, and why it should be publicly mentioned that he's settled, is that he now is someone that has a history, and maybe he'll learn his lesson. And in the case of women that are around him, buyer beware. You know, beware of where you're heading. So this gives everybody an opportunity for a little warning, because the worst thing that's ever happened when in these cases, Aaron, I think you'll agree with me, is people who get away with stuff until they do something really terrible, and then finally get caught, but they leave a trail of pain and suffering. And I'm not just talking about sexual abuse, not just talking emotional abuse. I'm talking people who physical abuse, murder, and all kinds of stuff, right? So hopefully he's going to learn a lesson. He's got enough money to pay enough therapists and psychiatrists to help him if he has any issues.
And honestly, at this point here, now that these cases have been settled, really, the victims should be allowed to live in peace and heal on their own. What the cases of court settlements are, again, NDAs are in place. The people are not going to be discussing it. So, as far as the rest of the public here should be concerned, he has resolved this. He or his lawyers have resolved the situation to the victim's satisfaction. And for the public here, we can make judgments about him as a person, about an individual, but
Absolutely.
as far as it comes to legally, we're out of the loop now. It's no
And in
longer our
some
concern.
cases, Aaron, because I believe in trying to open up completely, and in some cases, a lot of people don't like the fact that they have to sign NDAs, because sometimes that leads to what we're talking about. It keeps something secret. It's much like what happened with Hockey Night in Canada, not addressing issues, and NDA is the same thing. You're not really addressing the issue other than to paying off somebody, and then for them to take the money, they have to be quiet and sign an NDA. So there's lots of sides to everything. All right. Red Bull suspends junior driver Yuri Vips. What happened to him?
So, as is common amongst the younger drivers on the Formula 2, Formula 3, and Formula 4 circuit, when they're not actually racing, they like to live stream themselves playing video games.
Oh, no, I know this story. Okay.
Yeah, you know the story. Yeah,
Oh, God.
Not only that, there were a couple other Formula 2 drivers on the stream with them who laughed at him after he used the racial slur. I'm not sure if those drivers are being investigated. That is up to their own racing teams. But Red Bull has currently suspended him. The team announced on Wednesday. And Dave said, well, we've got a zero tolerance policy for that. Yuri Vips also released a statement of his own saying he wanted to unreservedly apologize. He's going to cooperate with the investigation into what exactly happened here. So there you have it. They're finally taking action against this. So,
and the Blue Jays dominate early in Major League Baseball All-Star Game voting, and the fire plug leads catchers.
Yes, Captain Maple Beef Alejandro Kirk is currently leading the voting.
Yep, Captain Kirk.
At one point, I think we had 5 players that were currently up.
Are they 4
and
now?
That was Vladdy, Bo, Springer, and Alejandro plus one other. But yeah, that's after the first ballot. So good on them.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, Alejandro Kirk is leading all catchers,
which is pretty neat.
Well, it's excellent because this is a guy that Jays really didn't feel was a guy they wanted to have behind the plate, but they couldn't avoid putting him back there because of his bat.
And it was absolutely fantastic to see. I mean, the dude is a fantastic hitter.
Absolutely.
Oh, speaking of the Blue Jays, before we
Go.
just get off the Blue Jays just for a second here, I don't know if you saw their shop yesterday, but in their shop they have a July 4th baseball hat that features stars and stripes for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, really?
Yeah. After a significant outcry on Twitter, I believe the MLB shop actually pulled the ones with the stars on them, but left the ones with the stripes, and they're still being sold as 4th of July hats. There's no mention of a Canada Day hat in there anywhere.
Oh, why?
I don't know.
Why the stars, not the stripes?
Because the stripes can't clearly be identified as American, even though the hat is red, white with blue stripes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I got you. All right.
Anyway.
So real quick, if we can get through these, you know what? Let's go to the new stuff. Some Quebecers should get periodic COVID-19 boosters, province's vaccine committee says.
Yeah, so they are recommending people in more vulnerable parts of the population, including those of the age of 60, pregnant women, healthcare workers, people with underlying health conditions, get another jab just in case.
Ontario and Quebec heat continues. Boy, did it ever yesterday, 32, man, here.
Oh, yeah, and it was up to 37 where I was, 42 with the humidex, not to mention the ever-present clouds that haven't rained yet, but are certainly making things steamy.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the temperature. Alberta United Conservative Government shuffles cabinet amid leadership race.
So even after Kenny has stepped down, they're still moving around deck chairs on the Titanic to try to get everything looking spanking new.
What's that Conservative MP, the one that likes to make trouble in vaccine issues? He wants to. Apparently, there might be another. Well, anyway.
Another convoy in Ottawa, Canada Day, eh?
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the January 6th committee, the Senate committee in the United States investigating January 6th and the president, the former president. And I just wanted to say that I've been watching it, not religiously, but I've watched the majority of it. I've watched a lot of the commentary about it, Aaron. And what really strikes me is how this is just factual information being put out there without much hoop-de-doo, without any fanfare. And on top of that, the people who are the witnesses and the people giving evidence are all Republicans. And I find this to be a historical. I think this is an excellent historical keeper, if you know what I mean.
No, most definitely. I mean, this is one of those moments where individuals who have been strong proponents of certain beliefs are finally starting to realize that they could potentially be coming down onto their last minutes, potentially in power, are coming to terms with the fact that they may be on the wrong side of history.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. And this is a point maybe you didn't expect me to come up with, and I don't think anybody who knows me would expect me to come up with. This is making Republicans look good. Not all of them, but that there are good Republicans who believe in the Constitution, who believe in law. And the thing that was said yesterday by the Speaker of the House of Arizona, when he said, I don't want to win by cheating. There's nothing that anyone can say after this that doesn't speak to why Trump should be in jail, because all he does is cheat.
Well, as some people are fond of saying, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
And Aaron, my final comment on this is when they asked him, said, would you vote for Trump again? He said yes.
I think that tells you everything that you need to know and puts a nice little bow on everything right there, Frank.
There you go. So I just thought I'd throw that at you. Anything else you got?
Nope, I'm good.
Well, we celebrate the fact that lacrosse season's over and good for and and of course Tampa Bay's back in the hunt. So we'll see what happens in the next game.
Perfect.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Frank.
All right. He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching. Ciao for now.